ease it up, I'm going to ask these questions in English, but simple questions. So I understand the regulations, and basically you're just adding these two to the definitions of 17 PNCA Section 33011 as those who are covered, and then the reporting requirement, which is for the 17 PNCA 3301J. So I understand them. But let's go to the virtual asset service providers. And the first question is this allowed under our law, this type of business?
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
And are there specific statutory that allows them, or is this just what you call it was not defined, so it's, you're doing business that is not prohibited? It's the latter one.
The latter one,
Okay.
yes.
All right. And so the just to be clear, virtual asset service providers, VASPs, those are not prohibited under our statute. So the purpose of this is that you want to cover them and to put them in the regulation. I'm just asking these simple questions so at least the people are going to understand what you're trying to do. People who's going to be watching this. Now let's go to the next one: money and value transfer services. You mentioned the PayPal. I know Apple Pay. I've seen stores using with the WePay that accept WePay and Alipay. Stores in Palau that accept those. And then we also talked to me, money and value transfer services probably might have to include Western Union, and then these remittances. In the past, in the inception of this law, did you require Western Union and these remittances to register or to be subject to the Money Laundering Act?
So they are required under the law to be subject to the Money Laundering Act. We're including this provision specifically so that it's really clear for our international standards
Okay, all right.
that it meets it.
Okay. So it's clear. So it's going to be clear. So let me ask you: all the remittances in Palau, are those registered? Currently registered?
We know like a Western Union is registered.
Yeah.
We understand. So going back to this issue about remittances happening in a different way, those people could be considered remitters as well, and they wouldn't be registered.
I'm actually talking about actual businesses who have a business license to remit. Those, are they registered?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Friday night, I'll use the example. I went to Franco's store to purchase some groceries, and then there's a tourist who brought his phone, an Apple phone, and then just, paid with his Apple Pay or his credit card. And then, tapped on the machine, the store got its money, and then he left them. And if we're going to require, who are you going? So he was using. Let me assume he was using Apple Pay. And these regulations are already in place. Who are you going to require to register? Apple Corporation, or Alibaba, Alipay, or PayPal? Because I'm saying this because a lot of Palauans use these, especially young ones who travel from the States here. My daughter has one, and she just uses Apple Pay everywhere because it's linked to her bank account. It's linked to her credit card. That's that's my understanding. That's how it works. So let's assume that we require them in these regulations. How do we enforce it?
So this is kind of a complicated. It's not complicated. It's a pretty simple, straightforward answer, but it's something we have to work with tax through the business licensing department on. So part of the reason for enforcing this is the registry, right? So we're going to be putting out there that the people that fall within this category, and we will be issuing guidance to explain who is required to comply under this, that they have to register with us. Once we know that they are registered with us, then we'll be able to better enforce it.
So let's say the big, I'm sure sure Tim Cook doesn't want to come here and waste his time on these are. So let's assume that, Apple Corporation doesn't register or whatever we're just one way to do this via enforcement is to mandate our stores to say you shall not accept Apple Pay. Is that what you're trying to say?
I don't think we would be trying to mandate that. I think one of our problems is that the branch of like the doing business in Palau is really on tax, right? And so we have to work with tax to figure out what the parameters are. We've spoken with the director over there about so this is where the complication comes in because they're off island entities doing business here in Palau. And so we understand from tax that they have a threshold that they operate at where those entities are the ones that are required to do business in Palau. We do have to think through a little more closely about Apple Pay and those sorts of things. But we wanted to get the law down first and then work through that one.
Okay. And the reason why I was sort of raising these issues is because we don't want to come up with something and then not have a regulation and then I can't even enforce it but I say this because I want to tie this into majority of foreign workers who are in Palau, and they no longer utilize remittances, and they actually utilize an app to send their money back home, and we can't capture that. But what I do know, because I've seen it, is that they would deposit their money in their bank account here, and their bank account here is linked to their app, and then they would send that money. It would just be a regular transfer from their bank account here to another bank account off island. I think that's where a lot of problems that are concerns. And so I think instead of just, we put this in the regulation to require them to register, but at the end of the day, we got to get what, these people needs to pay to our government. And we rely on that money for a pension plan. We rely on that money for services that we provide. So I'm pretty sure back in the day, 20 years ago, I know that they were carrying cash out. But, it's hard to carry cash now, or they won't be able to justify that much. And so they're utilizing technology, and it seems that we're not doing anything. But let me just state, the chairman, that I think, you and the 4 or 5 people working in your office, chairman, that's not enough. We're talking about millions of dollars that are being siphoned out. And so when you say 4 people, I don't think there has to be at least 3 or 4 full-time people monitoring this money going out, because your job is to follow the money. And so let me just make those comments, Chairman Sulang.
Samuel, comment tergilid sa iraw era mo itamay kan mura bitang.
Oh, I think address still money value transfer service and why we're wanting to have it in place at a lot of time. So one of the biggest thing around the region, and because of the diversification of economy, but to balura South Pacific, and a platform of just using apps. Again, apps are tied to the telecom company. So this is in part getting ready for that if it does come down, Merbelau. Yeah. So, and then still second portion, as far as remittance, pinmutil as libo off the record, egim sodi segidal side.
Mo. Ya am sulang til ayaman mokte kita ikal meeting. Kuy dolmol man ngarager makma ulaw nungum sa nga tanga kaldeligit ringiwan.